Uh,
We're on.
we're live. Wow, what's going on? I actually feel slightly a little nervous. How's things, bro?
Not too bad, man. I'm surviving the apocalypse.
Yeah, how are you getting on with that? What are you doing for it?
So, obviously, I work in a gym and I'm a PT and I'm an online coach. All that thing, all those things related to fitness. So the gym's been closed now. I can't do the PT side or the gym side. So I've just picked up a job in a supermarket just to tide me over. I'm still
Yeah.
doing the online coaching stuff,
What
as
you
well as
found with clients with online coaching, if they dropped off at all?
yeah, a couple of them, but the majority are actually great. They've just said they want to stick by me. I'm still providing a service of like home workouts and things
Yeah.
like that. Still trying to
It's
look
just
after them
picking up
people.
new clients and new things that I've found. There's no new income coming in, is there? There's no new clients coming on board. So the ones that we dropped off and the ones that have you may be losing £400 or whatever it is a month, but you're never making any more money, and then you still got your bills, which is a nightmare, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it
Yeah.
is a nightmare. I was literally as soon as Boris Johnson came out and said we're closing the gyms, the day after, so he said that on the Friday. The day after, I got a job at Tesco. So
Oh, yeah,
I just,
you was already foresee it. That's good though,
yeah,
that you're forward thinking, because it's just you have to just make the money, haven't you? That's what I mean.
yeah, mate. Yeah, I
Now,
couldn't afford to be in a shit place because once you're in a hole, it's very hard to get out of it, and a lot of self-employed people are in that position.
yeah, I'm in that position now where obviously I'm self-employed, and I'm just luckily I've got savings, so I can probably go 6-7 months without making any money, extra money, and be okay. But there's a lot of people in the position where they haven't got that. They've
No,
literally, and I think it's going to crush a lot of businesses, isn't it? It's going to crush a lot of companies,
yeah.
a lot of businesses. It's a strange one, but what are your plans from like with off season competing, or what are you thinking?
So my goal was to put on 20 pounds stage weight to get to that limit of my weight to height cap,
Is that
which
what
is
your classic?
yeah,
What is
yeah.
your what category are you in on that? What class?
So I would be in the 5'8" or 5'9", so that would put me around about 190 pounds,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
believe.
yeah.
My last competitive stage weight was 170, so
Mm.
that's where I've got that 20 pound figure from. And I just
Yeah, yeah,
thought that for me, a chance to get a pro card, I think would be to max out that weight limit would give me the best chance.
yeah. It would do, yeah.
Adding the muscle into the right places, obviously. So I just thought if it takes, I'll have this year off definitely.
Mm.
So if by next year I'm ready, then that's sound. But if not, I'll wait another year. But like obviously this shit's happened. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll be lucky to maintain muscle in this phase. To be fair.
That's all we can. I think this is all the advice I've given to people. It's about just retaining the muscle we've got. You can't really make any plans to be like, right, I'm going to add this amount of muscle, because we just don't know whether we're coming or going, do we? And again, it's like the shows. Every week there's a new show cancelled. Every week there's a new show cancelled. So I think
Yeah.
it's the main thing that I'm doing in this time is just taking it every 24 hours. As literally, I feel the virus is one thing, but on the second side of things, it's mental health. Like, people don't
It is.
realize that they're actually that busy in doing the day-to-day lives that they haven't got time to think about anything or overthink. And I think this is going to be a real difficult problem for people, where they're going to just overthink every situation, start worrying about finances, having to live with as bad as it sounds, live with the wife or the husband, and they've not been used to that. So the stresses of the kids being off school, there's so many
Yeah.
things that people are not taking into consideration, that I think staying busy and having a routine and making the 24 hours the best 24 hours you possibly can is the goal right now, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's
absolutely. I think people could potentially come out stronger because if you could deal with that shit for however long that goes on, which a lot of people are going to be forced to do,
yeah.
they might just come out a bit more at peace with themselves. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I hope they do. I hope they have some time to, Yeah, it's difficult. I always say this though. I always preach this. Is like with the whole mental thing aspect of it. You would hire a PT within seconds, and it would be, I've got a new PT, I'm doing this, and be plastered everywhere. But nobody would ever like announce that they was having help with the mental health or having like developed themselves mentally, because
Yeah,
it's deemed as like
still true.
yeah, it's the stereotype of it's deemed as a bad thing. But I think
Yeah,
this will give people time to reflect and actually realize what they really want. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
yeah, I think
absolutely.
if we can look at the positives from it. Okay, so the elephant in the room. Why did you use? Okay, so people who don't know, like you was really good at natural. You was a champion natural bodybuilder. Like potentially, personally, looking at that scene, probably could be one of the best to do it. What was your reason for going a different direction?
So I thought, right, okay, this last season I was like, right, this is going to pretty much, after this, I've got to decide whether I want a career in bodybuilding or whether I want to be natural or go assisted. I looked at the Olympia, the Open, I'm not going to lie, really put me off.
Yeah, we had this discussion, didn't we? Yeah, we had this discussion.
Yeah, and then the Classic came on, and I thought, wow, that's beautiful, and that's something I want to aspire to. And plus, seeing you compete last year, just seeing that, you know, the shape that you got into, and the fact that you didn't have to fucking, you know, stupidly push your weight or do anything dangerous to your health or whatever, to get there, you know, you still look nice and healthy as well. I just thought, yeah, just get undressed, man.
Okay, well, listen, purpose. Look at it. No, I'm joking. Go on.
So I just made a decision. I want to go into classic physique. I still want to be healthy. I want to bring a remarkable physique, hopefully, and potentially compete on the Olympia stage or the Arnold stage one day.
That's always the goal, isn't it? Like that's just like mine was always originally like 212, and I was like, okay, I want to be 212. I want to be 212. I'm like 5'6", so like I'm like, okay, 212 is perfect for me. If not, I'm a little bit too tall for 212. But then what was happening was trying to push that food and like my weight up and so on. You just run the risk for me personally. I'm only a small frame person of just losing lines, losing aesthetics, losing what I really liked about bodybuilding, that wow factor. And
that's what put me off.
Yeah, and I'm like, I think to get to that amount of muscle mass, it's people always focus on drugs, and I'm openly honest. I probably do the same amount of drugs or same sort of drugs that the 212 guys do. You know, the amateurs coming into the 212s or the heavyweights. I use GH, I use insulin, I use all these things, but it's the food. It's like them guys, the amount of food that they have to consume, it can only go one way. You can't. It's like, yeah, you add 2 inches to your arms, but some people are going to add 2 inches to the waist because it's just the way it is. They're piling on this muscle so quickly, and it's not refined muscle. Well, it's a massive amount of muscle, but they're adding it so quickly. It's just the food that they have to eat, 7,000-8,000 calories. It's you know what I mean. It's not going to go one way.
You see him putting on muscle in the wrong areas, and that it just ruins the shape of a lot of physiques. And that, like when I was watching the Olympia last year, and I'm just seeing physique after physique without the aesthetics that, you know, that was missing. You take Phil out, and you take Sean Roden out, and you haven't got Kai in there. That's what you were left with last year, and you know,
it's almost like forced muscle, isn't it?
Yeah. I think Dexter Jackson said something about this. Is like the answer that I have in bodybuilding is just about longevity and just adding a little quality muscle over the period of time rather than rushing it, because you can tell when a lot of people are rushing their physiques that the health goes down the drain, and again they start putting on muscle in just shit areas that you don't want to.
It becomes more of I'm a weight gain. I'm X amount of weight. I'm huge. I'm strong. Amazing. That's great, and it's inspiring, because to be able to do that is hard work. It is. It's harder than sometimes dieting, but it's not beneficial to the look. Do you know what I mean? So you could let's take Rough Diesel, for example, £178, £180, phenomenal. Like, you look at him and be like, you couldn't even guess his weight. You'd be like, it just looks unreal. The proportions are ridiculous. So your goal now is to head into the classic sort of element of like two bros. Would that be?
Yeah, two bros. I might do another federation, potentially PCA. That's something I've always wanted to look at. Since it's been around. But yeah, two bros would definitely be the main one, because that's the route to go with the pro card.
What do you see? Like, just it's a good insight for people, because obviously I haven't been natural for that long, so I can't remember how it was to be. Like, for me, I had this conversation with you, and there's only a certain few people I would ever say to them, I would potentially go on anabolics because you have everything there. But what do you see like young natural? What advice would you give to young natural lads, like the mistakes that they're making, or like when they're starting out?
See, there's a lot of people who just bulk for a couple of weeks, diet for a couple of weeks, bulk for a couple of weeks, and like they're just yo-yoing constantly. That's what I see a lot, especially young lads. So what I would recommend to them is what I did is I just spend a large time in a surplus, a large time enjoying lifting weights, lifting heavy fucking weights and just enjoying it. And then before you know it, you've put on a lot of muscle. And be nice and patient with it, and just spend your younger days just growing, and then you'll have the advantage over the competition.
You would say not to compete straight away, take a good 2 years, 3 years to add some muscle.
Yeah, definitely.
Because the process for naturals is a lot longer, isn't it, than obviously assisted. So maybe a guy who's thinking about competing and jumps straight on anabolics, which is for me the wrong thing to do, but he will make progress in that year regardless. He will add. But for me, I would say I was advised wrong. So I would have rather done what you did and build a natural foundation and a natural amount of strength, because then when you do introduce anabolics, it's a different level. Like, I've seen it now, like you're pressing like 70s. Most, even 70s, isn't it? Like, you've been pressing? Yeah. I've been seeing it. That for me, I'm like, most guys on gear who've been on gear for 5-10 years can't press 70s because they haven't got that foundation. Do you know what I mean? They haven't got everything else that's in place. So I think like that for naturals, I think for anyone who's starting out in bodybuilding, I would have loved to stay natural for as long as possible. It'd have been hard because my friends around me would have been making progress and they would have been looking great and so on. But if you've got the long goal in mind, if you want to make this as a career, then stay natural for as long as you possibly can. That's
what it's about, isn't it? The longevity of it.
Yeah, everyone wants it.
A lot of people say this to me who were assisted, the saying, I wish I stayed natural a bit longer.
What age are you now, bro?
I'm 22.
Yeah, so that's like, for me, 22, 23, perfect age for me personally. Everyone's different. But
16.
Pardon?
I've been lifting since 16.
Exactly, and you've got good eating habits, you've got a good routine, you've got a good knowledge of your body, you've dieted down before, so you know you can do it several times, one shows naturally. So it's like, all them things for me have to be in place before you even consider it. And then, like you say, do you want this to be a career? Like, yes. Like, if you don't and you're just doing it to look a little bit better, I probably wouldn't do it. Like,
no. This is what I say to a lot of people, because I'm not going to lie, since I've been assisted, a lot of people are like coming out to me and saying, I want to jump on.
Yeah, this is what I want people to understand for you, like, because it's a good bit of knowledge for people, isn't it? So carry on, sorry.
Yeah. So I just say to them, like, if you for what most people want, they can achieve naturally.
Yeah.
Genuinely, the standard that I've seen from doing natural bodybuilding, going to the worlds and just seeing like the pros there is just phenomenal. Like, and it's more than enough for what the average person wants out of their physique. Like, if you are thinking of going assisted, genuinely just spend a few years building up a base, because what I have seen and what I'm finding now being on a PCT is when a physique's built from drugs, and say like you come off, or you reduce those drugs, or what you lower the drugs, it's harder to maintain that muscle.
Yeah.
But if you've got a nice base before, I've found that it's easier to maintain the muscle.
Yeah, because there's quality built there. Yeah, it's been built over time, hasn't it? That's what you see a lot of people. They'll blow up, they'll add a load of water, they'll add some glycogen fullness, and because they're lifting heavy and so on, and then like you'll see them, they'll come off. They'll never. This is the reason people like steroids are not addictive, but people are addicted to how they make you feel or how the physique looks. So because they haven't got they can't cycle, they just stay on, and it's like, are you fucking stupid? Like,
stay on, and if they do cycle, they're cycling on like 0.5 gram a test or something like that.
Yeah, they're like, oh, I'm on a cruise, I'm going to drop down to like a normal dose of test then, not a dickhead dose. It's just, it's a stupid way to go about it for me. I just think people need to, like say, people who are ever thinking about it, unless you are certain, like you said, that you've got to look at risk reward. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. How much are you risking from what reward are you going to get? Like, I always preach this to people. Like, if I wasn't making money out of bodybuilding, it wasn't my career, I didn't want to get to Olympia, I wasn't 10 years deep into it, I wouldn't use, looking back, I wouldn't have used. Like, because to go to Ibiza on a holiday, for me, I just don't see, that's me personally, I just don't see the point in risking it. Because there is, everything you do has a reaction, so there is side effects. You could try and limit the side effects as much as you can, but there is side effects. You can't get away from that. So at the end of the day, it's like you're gonna risk your health. You're gonna risk even your mental health, because they do affect you psychologically, and you're gonna do all that for some abs, which you could easily get just dieting. I just see people not being able to even stick to a diet or training if they're not on cycle.
Yeah, exactly, man.
That's just fucking stupid. Do you know what I mean?
Mate.
What was so? What do you mind talking about, like gear or anything like that? What your dosages are? Yeah. So it's like, so what did you start on as like? I know what I would start someone on, but what would you?
I started on 500 milligrams test.
Yeah.
A week.
Yes.
Which isn't crazy high, but it's enough.
Yeah, it's more than enough.
It's more than enough.
Yeah.
A lot of people would start like, I'd say about 300 to 500, maybe even lower. But I would say you wouldn't really need to go any higher than 500 milligrams, especially when you're starting.
This is the thing, like, man, honestly, this is what people say to me, like, why do you think all these youngsters are so much better than like when we was like, the advice that I got when I was a kid was 2 mil a test, 2 mil a deca. That was my first cycle. And I'm like, okay, that's 500 milligrams, that's like a gram of gear total for my first cycle. But I didn't know any different, so you didn't have like as much information as I have now. So I was like, okay, cool. And I grew, but I just blown my load. I've been like, fuck, because I could have just grown on 300 mega test or 500 mega test. I could have just grown on that and then had a PCT and then grown on by like a 500 mega test and a millideca. It's like, what I don't know, in the old, like back in the day, saying I'm old, but like back when I started gear, like the advice that we used to get, it was just like, it was ridiculous. So it's nice now to know that people have these resources, you know what I mean? Why they're going to start and what they're going to do and how to do it. It's better for people, isn't it? What have you found? Like, obviously you're pressing 70s and rowing God knows what have you found since starting, so people know what to expect?
What I've found since, so I started pretty much, I came off prep.
Because you didn't have that beard before, did you?
I didn't have the what?
The beard.
The beard.
No, I'm joking. Automatically beard.
But it was shit before, to be
fair. Was
it?
It got better?
It's got better. It's still not fully like yours.
Getting there. I fucking hate mine. The reason I've not got it shaved off is because fucking coronavirus. I'm like, I hate it. I don't know, I feel homeless. But carry on, sorry mate, I interrupted you, go on.
So yeah, well, so what I started after prep, obviously. So my hormones were down the pan, obviously being natural at the time. So what I found is I recovered a lot quicker from that.
Oh yeah.
After my first prep, it took me months and months and months and months to even get a sex drive.
Oh really?
Like, I'm talking a long fucking time. But this was like in a matter of like a month.
Become a racist in a month, like, oh yeah, give me. No, Mrs. is like, thank fuck for isolation.
Yeah, from 0 to hero, man.
Yes.
But yeah, everything just sort of advanced. I had more energy, I had more confidence, I had more positive aggression to throw into the gym. I probably felt all this more because my hormones were like completely the opposite way. I had fuck all test at all. So yeah, and obviously I noticed my strength coming up quite a bit. And I was just making nice steady progressions. Like there were massive jumps in scale weight, like about 5 pounds a week at one point for a few weeks. So yeah, it was good. And I ran that for like 17 weeks, and even to the last week, I was making really good progressions.
Yeah, you're still because that's the thing as well. Like I always say to people, it's not the drugs that's going to make your progressions. Yeah, it helps. It helps with all them other elements, but it's you being diligent with your lifts, your exercise selection and your progression, your food slowly going up, and you being diligent with your diet. This like you can't fucking take anabolic steroids and sit at home and expect to do everything. This is what always makes me laugh when people are like, oh, steroids. You're like, okay, let's add into every other fucking element that we've done.
Exactly, man. Exactly. There's a massive misconception even now about steroids where they think people who take steroids have most of the work done for them by the steroids itself. Like even the people who are taking steroids sometimes are relying on that. And
it's crazy. They're like, oh, this gear must be fake because you're so much better than me. You know, it's the same stuff that I take. It's just I'm just so much better in every element than you.
I used to get like shit, like because someone's like, oh, I'm on trend and you're bigger than me, so you're definitely on gear. I'm like, mate, I live in the fucking gym. If you saw how fucking obsessed I am with this, you'd be like, why aren't you bigger?
Literally, like this is what I say to people. It's like if you have to realize what I have to do on a day-to-day basis to look like I do, like even though people like say, oh, you have a great physique, which I appreciate, they'd probably be like, it's not fucking worth it, mate. What are you doing? Like, fuck it off. But it's our passion. It's what makes us feel, I don't know, it's just what we love to do. Like right now, it's killing us not being able to train and eat properly and make progress. I think the main thing is for us, or as bodybuilders, is progress. That's all we care about, like, in a sense of like, in anything, any element of any aspect of life, like, you've got to try and make progress. That's what I like to do anyway. And I think that makes you feel alive, what it does to me. It makes you feel like I'm living in
moving forward, like, I know whatever has happened in my life, I've made this constant investment in my physique. And you know, that investment's been there. So
this is another aspect I was thinking when you said it before was remember you saying make you feel more confident and more like I honestly don't believe in roid rage, but what I do believe in, it gives people seeing people who've been natural and then going over to it seems like I'm just my normal self now because no one will know if I'm on or off, but watching someone going from complete natural to assisted, you see them because they become bigger, they become stronger, they become more confident, and they have this ego, I'm not saying you do, but I've seen people get this confidence about them and this ego about them that then makes them feel, we feel like, you feel superior, you feel like I can do whatever you want. Yeah, you feel like it's a crazy thing, and I think that's what it changes people in that sense, only a little slightly bit, because you feel like, more, I think I would say more alpha male. That's what it'd be like. You feel like I'm the strongest. Pardon?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. You know, you're like, I'm bigger, I'm stronger, I can get more erections than you.
Yeah. I'll fucking missus, even if she doesn't pay me. And if she wants
I
to,
fucking anything that moves.
yeah, and I'll fuck you as well if you keep looking at me. You keep looking at me in that right way, I'll fuck you as well.
I swear to God, man. I started taking gear. I started growing chest hair.
Oh my God. But like,
Yeah.
it seems
Yeah,
like a good thing right now, but now when you have to stand there for fucking, because I have a rather large chest, and I'm joking, but fucking forever, man. I think, fuck. Sometimes I wish I was smaller. The only part that is easy to shave is my penis. Like, I wish this was bigger and took longer, but it doesn't.
You shave your penis?
Yeah, shave every.
Hairy penis.
Honestly, mate, if you've got a decent amount of length, the hairs will grow down your penis, and you don't want that.
Well, I'm thinking like this is right up to the end.
Oh no, I don't want to cheese grate that shit. I'm into some kinky shit, but not that. What else am I doing? Get a packet of salt and vinegar crisp and dip it in? Woo!
I thought you had like a dog's lipstick.
I actually do. Have you got my OnlyFans? You've got me on there, haven't you?
Yeah, man.
Obviously. I give you free subscription. No, I did. As soon as you started steroids, I was like, welcome to the dark side. There's your subscription.
The OnlyFans.
What was your, I'm presuming you still with your missus?
Yeah.
Yeah, what was she like when you said you were going to start?
She just, obviously she's heard a lot of the stigma as everybody has, you know. Mm-hmm. So she was concerned that I was going to get aggressive or be unhealthy or whatever. Yeah. And I literally, I didn't really change too much.
No,
and that sort of like settled it. As she said, I understand why you're doing it. After talking to her about it, she was definitely on board, and she was just the main concern was my health, and she didn't want me to change as a person.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I don't think you get roid rage if you're a sound person.
No, I think it heightens things of that character anyway. Do you know what I mean? So if you're an aggressive dickhead person, you're just going to be more of an aggressive dickhead person. Yeah. But you're always going to be one anyway. Do you know what I mean? So if you're a chilled, relaxed person like yourself, then you're going to just be chilled. And I think people put themselves, what I don't think as well, like what I find is people mix like recreational drugs, alcohol, and steroids because they're a disco bodybuilder and they just want to tie a t-shirt and go out and fucking party. That is not a good concoction because you've got stressful situations around you, you've got idiots around you, you're drunk and you're on drugs and you're on steroids. There's only going to end one way. Do you know what I mean? Of course there's going to be roid rage. And even if they wasn't on steroids, they'd probably be kicking off anyway. It's just the fact that they're on steroids makes it 10 times worse. Do you know what I mean?
I find like it's like what you say, it just enhances you as like your traits, like certain traits that you have.
Mm-hmm.
It just makes them more. But yeah, there's a lot of people who they just take a bit of D-ball and they go out on nights out like disco bodybuilders, like you said, and like of course blood doesn't even enter the red, so they have no idea what's actually happening.
It tends to be my mate said, and the mate tends to be selling the gear. So it's like it doesn't really the advice is dog shit because he's like, yeah, take more. Of course you're gonna say take more. Take this bottle as well because he's selling it. He wants to make sales. He's not asked about you. He just wants to make money. End of.
He doesn't give a fuck if you die of a heart attack.
No, he couldn't care less. Like he's just like, oh, you'll be fine. What was your personal like thoughts about starting? What was you like? Was you were like nervous about it or?
Yeah, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little anxious about it. You know, the whole thing with jabbing yourself and the whole. It's obviously you have that little bit of stigma at the back of your head, but I think a big thing for me was I knew as soon as I took my first jab, I would never be able to compete naturally again. There was no turning back at that point. And that's what made it hard because, obviously I did the natural shows. I met a lot of great natural athletes, but at the end of the day, I thought, what do I actually want out of what I'm doing? And
has anyone been a bit of a dickhead with you since you started, like natural guys?
Do you know what? Not really, no, not really. A few people have been like, why have you started? Or a few people are like, I hope you know what you're doing. You know, I want, like, you know, it's harmful. I'm like, you know, I just tell them, but a lot of people have been very supportive, and they just
That's
said,
good.
I'm excited to watch your journey. A lot of natural people as well. So I think that's quite awesome. I think what helped is, as soon as I started, I just came out and I said I was assisted.
Yeah.
I said the reasons why and what health precautions I'm taking, rather than just saying I'm starting gear, I want to get massive. Or just fucking denying it, and just, you know, putting on like 50 pounds and just saying, yeah, I'm still natural,
So
man.
how much weight have you put on since you started?
50 pounds.
You've added 50 pounds. Shit.
Yeah, 'cause I finished at 170 and I got up to 220.
Yeah, because this is well, definitely the best 220 you've ever looked, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I've dropped a couple of pounds, obviously, with PCT and fucking the coronavirus, but
Yeah.
I'm not too concerned, man. I'm still thinking I'm holding on to I'm like 218. Like,
Not nice.
it's not
Did
too
you
bad.
so did you change your trip, like, just so people know, did your food change, like the way you eat change, or the way you train, or anything like that change because you started anabolics?
Not really, mate. The only thing in regards to my training that changed was around injuries, not because of anabolics. Like, my injuries got better, so I was able to start deadlifting,
Yeah.
and my shoulder got better, so I was able to start pressing properly. So that's why training changed. But I didn't change my training around anabolics. The only thing I did do after a certain period of time, after making massive progressions, I had to start lifting heavier weight, was probably taking a set off here and there in
Oh,
some
really?
exercises. Yeah.
This is the main thing that I always say to people. People don't realise, they're like, well, Dorian only did one set. I'm like, yeah, because Dorian was probably one of the strongest fucking bodybuilders around. Like, yeah, you can talk about Ronnie, who's just a different fucking animal, but in the sense of, like, for a normal person with decent genetics, not Ronnie Coleman genetics, who's so superior, like 1%, it's like that one set will suffice. If you're lifting whatever you like, 70 key dumbbells for incline press, that will normally build you a lot of fucking muscle right now. Do you know what I mean? That'll do the job. The back off set will just be taxing for no reason, in my opinion. You'll just be stressing your central nervous system out for no apparent reason.
Yeah, like I couldn't do that set for 4 sets. There'd be a massive drop off.
Yeah.
As opposed to, like, say on the way up, say like when I was pressing 50s or whatever, I'd have easily been able to do that for 4
Yeah.
sets, and there wouldn't have been too much of a drop off from each set. So that's evidence, really, that
once you get to that maximum amount of weight, which is real failure, true failure, then you can't be doing 4 or 5 sets of that. Just doesn't happen. For me, anyway, just doesn't happen.
you can't go to failure and you can't perform. You just can't perform or
Yeah,
recover from.
it's just sub-max work, isn't it, for me?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just think it doesn't bring anything to the session. It's just work for the sake of doing work because you feel like you can just do more. It doesn't actually grow any more muscle, like, because you're just taxing yourself. What did you find with your frequency of training? Could you increase your frequency?
No, I was actually considering taking it down a little bit. Yeah, because what I did notice is, I don't know if it was the progressions or what I was doing, but I was getting fucked after sessions. Like, literally, my head was just like fucked. I was yawning and like I couldn't focus on shit.
No, you just want to, like, mong out, don't you?
Yeah, that's what started me taking away sets, because I just like I'm not recovering, because you know, it's carrying on to other sessions. So but I'm training 5 days a week. Like, if, like, say if I do when I do go back on, I start getting fucked and my progression does jump quite a bit and I'm getting quite fucked. I'd either take probably more deloads or potentially look at taking away a day.
How do you, for people that don't know what a deload is, how do you deload and what is a deload?
So I deload by just taking a few days off the gym. Some people can deload by reducing the amount of work that they do in the gym by a considerable amount, by just getting a blood flow. And a deload is just basically reducing the volume or taking time off because like you're systemically fatigued and you've accumulated that fatigue over probably some hard training. And you know, it's called overreaching when you're at that point where you've been training for, had a nice, you know, series of progressions, and you've been training for quite a few weeks, and you start feeling fucked. Your lifts probably go down, your appetites change.
I'm about probably 6 or 7 weeks. 6 or 7 weeks. I used to be able to, when I wasn't training as hard as I do now, when I thought I was training, I didn't have a day off. I didn't have a rest because I was doing higher volume and I was just pumping up basically. And I could train every single day. But then once I started really, really pushing it with rest pause sets and things like that, it was like, 6 weeks. I was like going in the gym thinking, I don't even want to train. And that's what you know. Like you literally, because I always want to train. And I'm like, fuck, it's legs. And like legs is my favorite part. But I'd be like, I don't want to eat, I don't want to train. And all I would do then is just take 4 days off. Take 4 days off, and then I would do an upper body pump up session, a lower body pump up session, and have another day off and then go again and start. And this is like literally, after that, come that 4th day, I was like a fucking crackhead. I was like, let me in the gym. I'm like we are on coronavirus. Like, let me in the gym. Let me train. I'll suck your dick, man. I don't care. But yeah, that's what I do with deloads. I never used to deload at all, and I thought, fuck off. And then I started doing, like you say, dropping it down to probably 50-60% of my normal weight. But I think, again, it was me being in the gym, and you know yourself, like when you're coaching and your whole business is around gym, your friends are fucking into the gym, and you're in the gym every day, sometimes you get a little bit sick of just being in the gym, don't you? So it's like, it was nice to have 4 days off, and then I need to get back. I mean,
that's a telltale sign. Like I was like yourself, never deloaded. I only started deloading last year. And I think I just probably like automatically deloaded whilst I wasn't deloaded, if that makes sense. So I was training, and I would probably go through stints of low motivation, probably not pushing myself as hard as I needed to, and my appetite just went shit. And then it would come back, and a lot of people do go through that, and I think that's just your body just telling you rest, and you probably do cut back a bit just because you feel fucked.
Well, they just don't take that rest, do they? They just, like you said, I used to just keep going in the gym, and it was just it was just bullshit. There was just no point. It'd be easy to take 4 days off.
Take 4 days off, and you'll benefit. You'll recover. I tell people you grow when you're out of the gym.
What do you like? So to give people an idea, when you was natural, what would you have to take your food up to in the off season to be growing? Like, what's the highest your food went?
I would say the highest I had was about 4,500.
That's not
bad. Which isn't too crazy. I got up to 230 pounds.
That's decent.
When I was natural, but I was fat.
That's what people don't realize is when you're natural, you're gonna have to gain some body fat, aren't you?
Yeah, you have to spend a long time in a surplus, and you know, don't be afraid of putting on a bit of body fat. The look that you will perform best at is not potentially the one that you look best at. Do you know what I mean?
It's the same thing as we always say. It's focus on like not the visual of your physique, but the performance of your physique in an off season. Realistically, isn't it? If you're getting a little bit too fat, maybe mini cut, but in a sense, like you can't be looking like, oh, I've got abs, or I need abs, or I need this.
Yeah.
You're like, well, fucking hell, mate, you're not gonna grow if you do that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you know, it's absolutely fine. Like I'm a bit weird in the sense that I didn't really care too much about how I looked. So I was happy with getting fat, but I
Yeah,
cared enough to actually be a bodybuilder and,
no, it's a
you know,
process. So you understood the process, though, didn't you?
yeah, I think understanding the process and understanding that it's a long game, um, you know, it's an investment at the end of the day.
Yeah,
I
in
think
turn, this is what I always say to natural guys is your everything that you do when you're natural is going to take longer. So you're going to spend a shitload of time in like 2 years in a surplus. It's going to take you 25, 30 weeks to diet that off because you need to preserve muscle. So these, like when you see, say, an assisted guy like myself will be able to prep in 12 weeks or 15 weeks, natural guys can't do that because they just will lose every bit of muscle they've got.
lose a lot of muscle. I mean, there's some people that can get away with it, but you know, if you diet too quick or too hard, or even for too long, and you just
Yeah.
start going like I started fading quite easily and going stupidly flat because the amount of time I was in a deficit, my body was just telling me to
Because how
fuck
long
off.
did you diet for last year? Well, was it last year? Yeah, last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, because last year is about 35 weeks.
Yeah, it's long, isn't it?
Yeah, man, and like it was just taking a lot of food to just fill me back up to even just get a little bit of
See,
fullness.
I'm gonna. This is the plan of action for me. Is like the next time I compete, I only did one show last year, like an idiot. But like the next time I compete, I'm like, I need to do show after show in order to hopefully get my pro card. And I'm like,
Yeah,
I need to do that. But I'm also thinking like, it's going to be difficult because the last show you may get your pro card, but you may look your fucking worst. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like I don't I don't like stepping on stage if I don't look any better or if I don't feel like I look great. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to present myself as a subpar, a shit fucking version of myself. So I'm
yeah.
like, but I'm kind of going to have to get it in my mindset that it's going to just be a numbers game and I'm just going to have to just keep going. But it's hard for me to do that. I don't like stepping on stage if I don't look the way I want to look. Do you know what I mean?
I don't think you have to look worse from show to show. I think there is a way that you could potentially improve from show to show. Even
I think
right.
I think the way you did it last year with AJ was great because you reverse dieted, didn't you?
Yeah, reverse dieting. Like, so AJ just basically said um, after my second show, just when my body started fading, he was like, right, okay, we stop digging. You know, if we dig anymore, we're just going to lose fullness and shit like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So we're going to have to reverse, and that really helped. By the end of it, I wasn't feeling too much like I was on prep as well.
I think I was pretty annoyed at you because I was dying and you was looking even better and felt great, and I was like, "Fuck you!" No, I was joking. I was like, "Oh, yeah, so happy on 5 carbs, you prick." No, I was joking. You look great, man. Yeah, you did look good, man. You look really good. It's
Thank you,
just, I
man.
think that's one thing people is like with the lack of knowledge. This is why I think having coaches is great because I would do that with somebody, but some people don't dare to do that and they don't understand that. You have to do the things you have to do in order to get the body fat off, aren't the things you have to keep doing to maintain that look.
Yeah,
Do
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like they think, oh, I still do 2-3 hours cardio and I'll still be on. Why? Like you've
yeah.
got no fat on you. Now you can slowly reverse and fill out and feel better, perform better in the gym. Your cardio can be more efficient. So all these things are things to think about when people are prepping. Is that you don't have to do the same thing continuously. It's even like this is what people don't understand, even with the anabolics and the drugs and the fat burners. You don't need to keep once you've got the fat off. You don't need to keep these like toxic fat burners in there to keep the body fat off. Like I see people using Clen and fucking loads of T3 and so on, and I'm like, you're ready, drop it, because all that's going to do is make it worse. Do you know what I mean?
It is. Like my first season, I carried on digging right until the very end, and I just looked worse and worse and worse. And by the end of it, I had such terrible eating habits as well, because I just went down and down and down. And like,
What's your moving on from that? That's a good point. Is what's your advice on people like after shows, like with the eating habits?
see what I found.
Look out for.
I found what helped me was reversing. because I already had like a little bit of a head start, if that makes sense. And then going on like a recovery diet type of macros. So I think I just had a few hundred grams of carbs extra. I think what you've got to do is after you finish competing is just say, right, okay, I need to put on body fat. I need to be healthy again. I need body fat to be healthy, and so I can perform and start growing muscle and get my
What I find with most clients is they just yo-yo. So they might increase the calories by 100 gram of carbs. That's only 400 calories, right? Okay. So then and you're a really low body fat. They'll then reduce the cardio by 10 minutes. So they're still on a load of output. And then the training's pretty shit anyway. And then they'll have bought a lot of fucking, I've done it myself. They'll have bought so much shit because the food focus was so high that they then be like, I'm not gonna eat any crap. I'm not gonna eat any crap. Then what they'll do is they'll binge and they'll put on 5 pounds and then they're like, fuck, I've got a diet again. So they'll literally yo-yo for months.
I think getting that habit, that's what I did first time around. Like my head was such a mess when it came to food. Like I could not stop eating. But I think what helps is like you're setting your calories nice and high, probably your protein a little bit higher to just make you feel a bit fuller. And just get to a point where you're putting on a nice amount of body fat, nice and healthily. Go out and enjoy your meal, but just make sure that your food isn't all low satiety and very calorie dense. Still keep the high satiety stuff in there.
What I tend to do as well is like once my calories are like a little bit higher on the rebound, I will add things in. Like I'll see you do it. I'll add nice foods in. I don't stick to like, because I think it's the restriction. Thinking fuck, like I can't eat. I have to eat chicken and rice. I have to eat chicken and rice. Well, no, you can eat steak wraps with cheese. And that freedom to then still scan your food and put it in MyFitnessPal and work out your and still hit your numbers, it allows you then to feel like you're still living a little bit, still have that freedom and you're not restricted, so you don't binge. If you can have a little bit of something, like I would say, if you want fucking 3 biscuits, have 3 biscuits on your after prep, but don't have the whole pack. Because like 3 biscuits might have fucking 10 grams of fat and 10 grams of carb. I don't know off the top of my head because I don't eat biscuits that much. But in a sense of like, they might have that in. It's not going to kill you to have that into your plan if that's all you want. Do you know what I mean? Rather than eat the whole, then go, I'm not having it, get up at 3 in the morning and have a whole packet. And you're fucked then. Because we've all been there. I've done it myself.
In moderation. I've done it myself. And like, in my first season, I was eating plain throughout. And by the time I just had a bit of flavour, it was like a shark tasted blood, man.
Oh, it's mental, isn't it? And you just don't get full. Like,
no, you don't.
It's weird, because after a show, you think, oh my God, like I can eat 1,000 grams of carbs a day and I'm not even full. I'm going to be massive this off season. And then you get like a little bit of fat on, you're like, fuck's sake.
I thought I could easily eat 10K every day. It's actually hard not to. I was going in and doing eating challenges into restaurants. I'm actually on a fucking Hall of Fame for breaking a record of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was down Stafford, the Bear Grylls, and they had this massive ice cream bathtub.
Oh, I've seen that. Did you eat all that? Did you eat it all?
Yeah, mate. They gave me 20 minutes. I ate it in 7.
Fucking hell. That's sick. I've seen that as well. It's huge. But that is like, to be fair, that is the best time to do eating challenges if you're going to do it. But it will
you have powers.
Pardon?
You have powers at that time, man.
It's crazy. That's what I try to tell a lot of clients, like, almost have another goal. So what I tend to do, if I can, I'll probably book a holiday like 4 weeks after. And I always want to stay in all right shape for a holiday. So if I book a holiday 4 weeks after, then I'll tend to still be dieting, but allowing myself to eat a little more and eat out once a week or twice a week to be more sociable. But I still want to stay in shape. So that's in my head. Because then by 4 weeks of after shows, you're out of that stage of wanting to binge eat anyway. Like, I think that 4 week period, the month after is a massive place where people can fucking ruin the whole physiques and ruin the whole off season. They put on 30, 40 pounds and you're like, what the fuck?
Like I had to diet again because I was eating that much after my show. I had to diet because I just turned skinny fat. Which was horrible, but it's a lesson learned. But I do think after a show, people's heads go because they're starting to put on body fat when the whole objective was to get rid of it, and to that they've got this massive drive taken away from them because they don't no longer have that goal. So I think you're right when you say, you know, you've got to have like probably mini goals to look forward to.
I don't know if you get the same thing. Like, I almost get a slight anticlimax after shows because I'm like, I've gone so hard into it, and that's been my main focus, and then it's over, and I'm like, oh, right, okay, what now? And it's like when I was younger and I used to do shows, everybody bigs you up, everybody asks you how your prep are, everyone wants to think you're amazing and you've won and you've done great, and then when the shows are over, it'll be 2 weeks later, and you'll be like, okay, like no one gives a fuck now. No one cares. You all lose.
They just go like, but that's the thing, man. This is why I think a lot of people keep dieting year after year, or you know, they keep prepping and you have like very short off seasons because they want to keep that sort of glory.
They want to keep that. What's the word for it? It's where people like they just pat you on the back all the time, and everyone to be like, wow, but they never make any real progress.
They don't. They want the glory of competing, and this is.
I would rather take, like you say yourself, I would rather you like take a year, 2 years, and then come and win every show and get your pro card, or you could compete every year. Compete every year and never make any progress and be that guy that could have done it but didn't.
Yeah, I mean, one of the benefits of classic, the way I see it is, once I get to that weight cap, I can't go over that, so I don't have to have longer off seasons.
Well, mate, I'm in exactly the same position, aren't I? I'm literally, I struggle to make that weight, and people are like, you must have hollow bones or some shit. How do you make the weight? But it's actually really nice to be able to like be in the off season. I'll be honest, like, you're heavier than me right now. Like, I'm like 205, and I just stay at 205 because I know I've got to come down to 175. So I'm kind of like, well, I just try and make this 205 look better. There's no need for me now to be pushing my weight and getting to 230, 240, because I couldn't ever get to 240, but say 220, 230, and be like, now I've got to take off 50 pounds to make the weight. It's nice to be able to be like, okay, I need a slight bit more back, I need a slight bit more tricep hang, I need a little bit, like refining it. And then once I get to being able to add 10 pounds because of the pro card, it'll be amazing to be able to then be like, right, now we need to hammer this bit. But it's actually been really nice to not have to really fucking hammer myself. Do you know what I mean? And really like push it.
I think that's actually why potentially the physiques are looking better in the classic and 212, because they have that cap, and once they hit it, they're just refining. And I think, say for example, Flex Lewis, I think he has a very good chance this year of taking it up because he's refined his physique that much, and now he's pushing back up. He's going to have an edge that other people aren't, and this is why I think a lot of 212 people are doing well moving up to the Open.
Yeah, because they've actually got the muscle mass already. That's already detailed. That's the thing I think as well is, I think I watched a podcast actually with Jay Cutler, and he was saying when him and Ronnie was getting so big and they were getting like 280 on stage, 285, they just lost the lines. They just lost that detail. And he was on about the 90s era. He was like, people don't realize we were so much bigger than them. He was like, yes, they was like the flat shredded look. You know how, basically like how naturals are. Naturals get so crazy detail, but they lose that round, fullness, pop. And the look now for the Open is fullness, roundness, crazy 3D muscle. And I think they lose that slight detail, don't they?
They do. And, they just lose the shape.
Yeah.
I think, the waist starts blowing out and things like that. And this is why I like the other classes. Don't get me wrong, I still like Open, obviously,
just don't aspire to look like that.
Yeah. I just want to be aesthetic. I want to be aesthetic as fuck.
I have like this thing where I really enjoy being in a t-shirt or a hoodie and people being like, he's not even that good. Like, it doesn't even look big. And then I'll take that off in a vest. I used to do it in strength all the time. And people are like, he don't even watch his photos. He photoshops his photos. And I'm like, okay. And then I'll rag off and be like, the fuck? Like, where's that come from? And I'm like, yeah, because the muscle mass I have on this frame is a lot of muscle mass. But in a jumper, I'm not a wide clavicle person. I'm not big bone. You know, I'm not a big person. I'm only small. But the muscle mass that you have on the frame, that's what I like about it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. See, I had something similar. Like on the I did like a little posing thing for Phil Heath, and
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
and the comments that I was getting, it was like I didn't even think you lifted under your t-shirt because I was like 6 weeks out and I was
Yeah, I've seen it. I was there actually.
yeah, and they were just saying, well, I didn't even know you lifted in your clothes, and then obviously when I started posing, like it changed my mind. It's kind of like it feels good doing that shit.
Yeah, like this is the thing that I have this analogy of as a gym bodybuilder and then a competitive bodybuilder. So you can have a guy who's got 20-inch arms, looks absolutely phenomenal in a vest, but you rag him off and body part by body part and his waist and his lines and his structure, he's shit. Yeah, he'll never win a show.
Exactly. A lot of people think it's the biggest guy in the gym, right? But it's the most complete. It's a number of things. And
this is the thing. Like, what do you think makes a classic bodybuilder?
It's the shape, the symmetry, the posing, like the condition.
Yeah, I feel the only thing I feel with the classic division is a lot of people just trying to make the weight and don't have the shape and structure. They're a classic bodybuilder because they can make the weight. They're not. Like, you're just a small bodybuilder. Like, the reason that I came into classic was just because everybody was like, fucking hell, like, you're such a classic bodybuilder, you're such a classic bodybuilder. When I was like class 3 or like light heavies, people was just like, oh, you're such a nice shape, blah, blah, blah. That's why I went to classic, because it just makes sense to do that class because I suit it. And then I struggle to make the weight. But people, I think, are just making the weight and being like, I'm classic. And you're like, you actually are not.
You're not. And
yeah, I see it all the time.
You see it, man. I think just people are confused about it. Like, they just think, well, that's on the way. They're probably, gaining muscle mass, and they're thinking, well, classic's just on the way. I'll just jump into that. Also got this amount of muscle mass.
I think it is good because people don't realise the progression. What I feel like the classes do is they have men's physique, because like I never got to do men's physique because it wasn't around when I started bodybuilding, so I was straight in the deep end. But I could possibly have done men's physique, which would have been a nice entry level for for competing, and then allowed me to grow, done classic, allowed me to grow, and that's, I think, is what's meant to happen. Obviously, it's not always the way it is, but I think it does give people, like you say, a little bit of a stepping stone to still compete on the way to being a bodybuilder. But the classic, you've got to have the structure, man. Like, you have to have
the structure. The structure is everything, because you've got a wide waist naturally. What I've said is, like, you have to have a certain structure for physique and classic. But with bodybuilding, you don't really. It's just size and condition. They're the main elements to nail, and you could get away with a little bit of a crappy structure.
You can be so big that the muscle mass is so impressive that you beat anyone. I've seen it all the time. Like, they're just so big. You can't deny muscle mass. It's bodybuilding at the end of the day. I think with the classic, it's like the bigger guys, if they ain't got structure, they're not going to win shit. Do you know what I mean? And I think
it just takes more. I don't know. There's more elements looked at with classic, and that's why I like it. To me, it's more bodybuilding, because it's not about being big. It's having the symmetry as well, and being refined in certain places and the balance.
The only thing I would say for you personally is, like, once you get to, like, for me on my point is, like, making the 175 does damage my physique. Like, I can look at 182, 183, 185. I can look just the way I want to look. And then it's like pulling it down. So, like, I think obviously you've got that goal of being 190, but I would say don't just use that as, like, that's when I'm going to compete. I'd be like, just try and compete, when you look great, because it's so hard once you get to the limit of the weight or over the limit to then pull it down to that. My legs fade, and Like, you know yourself, like to get to that weight, I have to drop my food lower than I normally would like to. And I'm going to play it a little bit smarter this time round, but it's like, yeah, your physique can be, you know yourself, if you pull it down too far, it can damage your physique. And that's what happens to me a little bit.
And I think that's why, yeah, it just fades. And I think that's why you see a lot, some of the classic people going into 2-on-2.
Yeah.
Like, George.
And Keon, isn't it? Keon's doing the same.
Yeah.
I think that's a mistake from Keon, though.
Yeah, Keon's very classic.
He just makes me want to fucking train the prick.
Yeah.
Look at him, I'm like, I need to train.
Yeah, he looks ridiculous. His muscle bodies are just ridiculous. But on the same sort of, you know, on the other hand, like he'll be the first of that type of physique in 2-on-2.
Yeah, I get that. I know he's saying he doesn't want to limit his potential, but I don't think he's actually that close to the weight limit, because he's can be 185 pound. So I don't think he's only 205 pound now. Like, so I don't think he's like actually that close to the weight limit, you know, like maxing it out. But I just think, for me personally, like, this is his fucking career, but it'd be nice to win the classic physique, then go to the 2-on-2, put on a shitload of muscle, because he's young as fuck. So it'd be nice. Yeah, be young. Like, he's young, and he could just go into the 2-on-2 and hopefully win that as well. I just think he's got such a great shape and structure that I just want to keep him in fucking classic, because I like watching him fucking compete. But
he's a classic, and he's a very classic guy.
It's the same thing you were saying.
Right with that.
Yeah, I think you were saying before, is like, he's one of them guys that you see him in a t-shirt, looks nothing. Rag him off, and you're like, what the fuck is that? Like, his arms might only be 17-inch, but they fill his whole fucking, yeah. He's got little T-Rex arms, he fucking fills it out like mad. You know what I mean? So, he's very good.
Phenomenal. The muscle bellies are phenomenal.
Who do you think for Olympia then, classic?
I do like.
Go on, bro.
I do like Chris. I really do like Chris. I think he does look good. But I don't know. I like Rough as well.
Yeah, see, I think it's because I'm short. So I prefer Rough Diesel to Chris Bumstead, just because I feel like, as a complete classic guy, posing, conditioning, look, I think Rough is better. But for some reason, I don't know, I've never seen him in person on stage, I've only seen pictures. He always just gets overlooked or knocked back a little bit. Like, he got beat by that Alex, I don't know his last name, at the Arnolds, didn't he? And I wasn't sure on that.
Alex is another one. He's come from nowhere, really, hasn't he?
He was 2-on-2, wasn't he?
Yeah, and he's just come from nowhere and just won the Classic Arnold. So I think he would be a good contender.
Yeah.
This year.
See, I prefer Rough and Alex's physiques over Brion's. I think they're more classic than Brion. Brion is just a mini Ronnie Coleman. He's dead compact, muscle on muscle, but he's not classic.
No.
For me.
No, I see. When I saw Brion, I really didn't see the hype.
No.
I didn't, and I was, you know, he's a great bodybuilder, he gets a great condition. I just didn't look at him and think, wow, that's the epitome of classic. So that's why I thought Chris deserved the win over Brion, and a lot of people thought that was controversial, but I just thought his physique was more classic than Brion's.
If you look at, like, even just down to his mustache, like, if you look at fucking Bumstead's, like, his wide clavicled, nice lines, tall. Like, I don't really like Bumstead's physique that much, just because it's not relatable to me. But I think for a classic like Mr. Olympia, he is what people aspire to as a classic bodybuilder. Do you know what I mean? He's got all the mass with the small waist and the nice lines. Where Brion, he's just like muscle on muscle and gets shredded because he has to make the weight limit. So I'm like, see, I would always have Rough and Alex above Brion, but I just think it won't ever happen like that. Just out of, I don't know, politics, or even Keon. I'd have Keon above him. Yeah.
See, it's like, again, what are people looking for in classic? And I think people have different definitions.
Yeah.
Like, people argue that George should have won.
It's not classic.
because he was the biggest and the hardest there. But like again, he wasn't classic.
No, he's not
Do you
classic
know
at
what I mean?
all.
And people are like, what do you need to have? Like, because he had the most densest muscle or whatever, but it's like it's more than that.
All you
And a
need
lot
to do
there's
is look at Lee Labrada, look at Francis Spencer, or however how you say his name. Like all these guys who are classic bodybuilders, the shape, the lines, the structure, that's like Frank Zane, all these people, that's classic bodybuilding. Like that is what it is. The looking a lot bigger than you actually are because of your proportions. It's about a proportions game. I always say this to everybody. Yeah, people like to say to me, "Oh, fucking hell, like, how big are your arms?" Not very big. It's just my waist is very small. And people are like, "How do you get your waist so small?" I was born this way. I was born with it. I didn't do anything to get it that way. It's just my genetic structure. Where some people have a tricep that hangs, like Phil has a tricep that hangs off the end of his elbow. He doesn't know how he got that. When we listen to him in a seminar, no offense, Phil, but you just train arms. You don't have some magical technique. You just pump them up. And it's like, you can't train that. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. Like, this is where I say, like, a lot of people will take advice of someone who's actually genetically gifted in a particular area, but I would
don't know how they did it. They don't know how they do it.
They don't. They just trained and he blew up. I would prefer to take advice of someone who's got a decent body part, but they're actually genetically struggling in that area, and they've actually, worked to get it decent because they've got the answers to.
I say this all the time because they tried every single way. They tried everything. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, these people don't always ask the guy with the best arms in the gym how to grow your arms. Ask the guy who's got half decent arms and you see him grafting like fuck because he's the one who's going to have gone, I've done single arms, I've done it this way, I've done that way, and it's like, that won't work, I've done this. And he'll know the ins and outs, where you feel like, I always feel like the top pros don't really know how they became top pros. They're just chicken and fucking, don't get me wrong, they are very knowledgeable, but they don't know the reason why they are where they are. They just have the genetics for it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think like Kevin Levrone, a lot of people would argue that he could have taken his physique a lot more, a lot further, and potentially got Olympias if he didn't have such big breaks and he regulated his training and just did probably ticked more boxes, probably had more variables controlled.
This is one thing that I was trying to touch on with the coronavirus and the mindset and the way people approach things. Like, we all lift, we all eat, we all train. And I was having a conversation with my friend and he was asking about like the gym, and I was like, yeah, because I obviously listen to a certain type of music and I think a certain type of way before I train. Like, my mindset's totally different. Like, I think about receiving an Olympia invite, and I think about like how it will feel to walk off the stage or be backstage, and all these things, all these emotions, and all, like, people. He's like, "What, you think about that before the gym?" I'm like, "Yeah, because I'm not really just going the gym. I am going to it, but it's like it's so much more than that." And I think the mindset of a bodybuilder is what really, really determines how good he can be.
Yeah, absolutely. Mindset is everything. It's above everything for getting to where you need to be. Like when I go to the gym, I'm thinking about how I got beat, and
same thing.
I'm playing that in my head over and over again. How I don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of what I want and what the set will give me, and what the session will give me, and what I'm doing is. It's just having that why, reiterating
exactly that, mate. I was about to say it. It's like when you have that why behind what you're doing, you're not really just doing, like, you're not just going the gym. It's for a bigger purpose than that, isn't it? And it's like I use this phrase all the time when I'm training, like the winner is, and I literally repeat that to my training partner, like the winner is, because that feeling of the winner is and your name being called is what makes you think, fuck, I can't wait for that feeling. So this is why do you know what I mean? When the set gets hard and I'm feeling like fucked or I don't want to do it, it's like the winner is, and that reminds me. Or I'll say to them like, "You're second, I'm first." Like, "Oh, I'm first, you're second," either way. And it's like, because that'll remind them that the person who's going to be stood next to me on stage will do this set, and they'll do a couple of extra reps, and it pushes you on. So the mindset really is the key to being able to be diligent on your diet, because we all have our days where we're like, "Oh, I can't be bothered. It's not fucking like, fucking I'll cook again." and like this virus is going to knock us for 6 months, and what's the point? And I see all my friends going out partying and doing this and doing that. But being able to stay tunnel vision and making sure that you actually, again, control the 24 hours. You're in control, right, of your emotions and your actions. So you haven't really got an excuse, isn't it? So you make sure it gets done. And like that's the thing that I think most people who could have been great and should have been great didn't do that. They took the foot off the gas, and it's like you can't afford to.
You can't. Like Dorian, when he finished the Olympias, he went straight back into training, no time off, straight back at it. I just think like this is why, that when I'm eating and probably I'm getting full or whatever, I'm like, I don't mind. I will push on and I'll keep eating because I know this is for a purpose.
This is one aspect that people really struggle with as well, and I used to struggle with it. And it was actually Eddie, in Strength Style, Eddie Hall, and he was like, he approaches eating like a set, and it kind of changed my mindset. It changed my mindset. Yeah, because it was like, but like I wouldn't fucking stop on a set, like a set of squats. I wouldn't fucking stop. I'd be like, no. 2 more. And like, so when I'm eating, why would you ever put your plate down and put it away or fuck it off and be like, I'm not eating that? Because you would just treat it like a set. And that's that's the thing that people don't do is like, that's the hardest bit, I feel.
That's the mindset I have. Like, or I see like, it's either right, that approach it like a set, or, if I don't eat this, I've just wasted what the fuck I've just done in the gym.
That's it. You can't, the training is just the hour of the day. The training is the fun part, I find.
Yeah.
The fun bit's training, but it's the rest of being diligent with everything else. And I think that what lends that when you're training really hard as well, and when you're being really like progressive overload, and you've got to fucking hit 70k dumbbells, it has a knock-on effect because you need to be hydrated so you get your water in. You need to have your good sleep, so you need to eat your meals, because if you don't, you ain't going to get them 70s. And that's just the matter of fact. When you're just going in and pumping up and just fucking around, you could have a fucking Burger King before you start training, or a fucking whatever you like, a Mars bar before, and it wouldn't affect your session at all. Do you know what I mean? Because you're not even lit, you're just going in and pumping up. So this is what people don't realise is I think progressive overload and pushing the limits is really good for setting everything else out. Do you know what I mean? Because you have to then already have been eating everything and keeping everything in check in order to achieve that.
Exactly, yeah. So it has a domino effect with the rest of it. It's like even down to your sleep, man. There might be nights where you're like, fuck, I want to stay up and watch something, or I just want to. I don't want to go to bed yet. Yeah. And I just want to shag all night, but
sorry, babe, it's 11 o'clock. I'm gonna have to go to sleep now. Pass me MDAAs. I'm fucking catabolic. I'm going to sleep.
No more cuddling. I'm not cuddling enough.
Does she ever say to you like, "This is great for hip thrusts"? She's like, "It's great for your core and great." My missus always tries that. She's like, "It'll be great for your glutes. You'll get straight glutes. Keep thrusting." Fuck, it's 11 o'clock. Go to sleep. Fuck off. I'm only joking. I just carry on because I'm a fucking machine. But yeah, I think it's a domino effect of everything, isn't it? That's what I think it is. Yeah. It's a knock-on effect. So for example, like, let's cap this off. Like, what would your advice be to anyone thinking about using anabolics? I know what I would say to them, but what would you say?
I would. Well, it depends where they are, but like, I would say make sure you've why you want to use it, and it's not just like off the pressure off your mates or whatever. I would say make sure like you've got a nice base of training naturally. If you are wanting to go into competing with it, I would try out a natural competition first to see if you like dieting, like the whole process of bodybuilding, and to see if natural bodybuilding is enough for you before jumping on gear. Because like for some people, they just like bodybuilding and they get what they want out of natural bodybuilding. And some people, they jump on gear saying, "Oh, I want to be a bodybuilder," and it turns out they're not really into that bodybuilding life.
They're in it for the long run. They're in it for the quick results and the abs and so on.
I would also say,
hey, go on.
I would also say make sure your nutrition is nailed and your training is nailed. And this is one of the benefits of doing natural first, is because you're relying solely on your training, nutrition, and your resting, and your recovery, and to take you to where you need to be. And a lot of people who just go straight for the assisted route are relying a lot on the drugs, and this is why I, in my opinion, I think you go to some natural shows, the standard is higher than some assisted shows.
Yeah, because they have missing body parts, and they have a decent amount of muscle, but just not in condition. Or I know exactly what you mean. I think as well as another factor is just do your fucking research. Research, but find like yourself, find a coach who knows what the fuck he's doing, or find somebody who's a good advisor, not a guy down the gym who's selling gear, somebody who knows what they're doing, and then ask and ask and ask a million questions, learn everything about it, and then even when that fucker tells you to do something, see, I always say to my clients, if I tell you to do something, ask me why, because if I can't explain it, don't fucking do it. Do you know what I mean? Because
Exactly that.
don't do it because I say just do it. You need to know the reasons you're doing things, and it's your body at the end of the day, it's your health at the end of the day. There's a lot of people there who will just be, what I've seen as well is they'll just do what other people have done with them. They don't actually know the science behind it. They don't know why they're taking testosterone. They don't know why they're implementing masteron, or they don't know why all these things that they're going to add in, they don't know why they're doing it. They're just doing it because that's the way we've always done it, and that's how I've done it before. And it's not, when you come to, it's okay when someone's dieting down and doing fucking cardio and nutrition, because they can't possibly kill you. But like, well, they could if you did something stupid. But in the sense of like with steroids, it's very, very, like, it will impact your health massively. So you've got to know what the fuck you're doing and why you're doing it. Don't just blindly go into it and keep fucking, yeah, that'll be fine, mate. I'll do fucking 10 gram of fucking gear a week, and I'll be Mr. Because as well, what I find is some people will tell people what they want to hear. You can be Mr. Olympia. You could be the greatest. You just need to.
You could be massive. Like a lot of people will think about the benefits and not think about at all the side effects, and they are being told just solely the benefits, and it's too good to be true.
Yeah, that is too good to be true. Normally is, because it is. You know what I mean?
Like I made sure I knew a lot of the negative shit, if not all of it. I made sure I was aware of it. I made sure it sunk in, and I let that sit with me before I made the decision.
Mm-hmm. Because you need to know, like you say, you need to know all the downsides to it, because then you're ready and prepared for them, and you can weigh up the pros and cons. It's like anything. It's like we always say, it's the risk reward. So there's so much fucking risk, but for me personally, the reward outweighs the risk right now. Do you know what I mean? So like, I never really understand smoking, because for me, there's no reward. Some people like it and they get a reward from it, but like, it just doesn't balance out. I think everyone has a personal thing, but to a sense of like with anabolics, if you just take, for me, if you're just taking anabolics willy-nilly, taking a bit of D-bol, this, that, and the other, then health implications are not worth just looking half decent in an Instagram photo. Like, I mean like half decent, not even decent, just looking a bit bigger than your mate. Like, do you know what I'm saying? It's just, that's the thing that people are trying to make that bad decision on it.
Yeah, I see a lot of people who are taking a lot of shit, looking very average and natural. And this is why I would say just nail the other basics first. And
my advice would be, don't blow your load too soon. So don't jump in at the deep end thinking,
yeah, exactly.
Bodybuilders are. I think it's more food, more weight, or you'll grow quicker. But the one thing is, more steroids and more anabolics don't make you grow quicker. Like,
less is more.
If you can use, like you say, use 500 milligram and put on 50 fucking pounds. Like, imagine when you use fucking 750, or imagine when you add another compounding, and then you're going to add another 20 pounds. It's where if you added it all in at once, you're going to get to 50 pounds, but you've got nowhere else to go. You know what I mean? You've used Oxys, D-bol, Tren, Masteron, and then it comes to a point where you're like, fuck, what do I use now? Like, there's nothing else to make progress with. like, and you blow the load too quickly. So I think it's good to be able to, like, slow it down, take it real fucking slow and be real diligent. That's what I'm telling people from me making the mistakes. I just willy-nilly just did whatever. Like, whatever someone told me to do, I'd be like, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, I'll do it. Never asked why, never questioned it, just got it done. Now I know that wasn't the right thing to do because it was all wrong. I shouldn't have been doing that amount of gear, and I shouldn't have been taking a fucking, like, probably for my first or second show, I took a cycle that I take now for fucking competing. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, how the fuck was I doing that at that time? I really didn't need that. But that's the way they'd always done it, and that's the way they always, you know what I mean? And even if I did question, they'd just be like, shut up and fucking get on with it. But if someone says that to you, it's probably because they don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. They probably don't have the answers. I've seen people use Tren for the first cycle and mix with a bunch of other compounds, no AIs, and they just come off. Just because the education isn't there.
Their mates doing that, so they doubled it. That was about it.
Yeah. And the amount of professional bodybuilders I've spoken to, and bodybuilders in general, that I've said, even when I was natural, that I've said, you know, you want to get the most out of little amounts.
Yeah, like, this is what I said to you, I think, for, like, when you spoke about it.
Yeah.
I agreed with what you were saying. Like, you're in a position where you could really make a fucking great impact on, like, make a career from this. And you had a physique, you had everything down and everything was nailed. So I was like, if I was going to say to somebody, I don't never really say to someone you should, but if you tell me you was going to be, yeah, I would, because you're going to make the most amount of progress to get to where you need to be. Some people come to me and say, oh, do you think? I'm like, no, I'm definitely fucking not. Like, one, you don't know fuck all about it, and two, you don't even know how to train yet. Like, you haven't even got any muscle. Get some muscle first. So I think, yeah, you was in a position where you could actually like, really, like, justify the reason you was doing it. Not you have to justify yourself to anyone, but in a sense, like, I could see why you wanted to do it. But the fucking thing is, man, like, we was meant to get a session in, weren't we?
Yeah, no, we were.
This is meant to be a session, and I was like buzzing about it, and I was like, fuck. But yeah,
I know, it's shit, and that's why I think I got ill. Like, I got really fucking ill, and so we couldn't train, and then we tried to arrange it, and then fucking obviously this happened. So
yeah, I'll probably see you next year or something.
Like, yeah.
That'll be like, you'll be like 250 pounds, and I'll be still 200 pounds. Like, fuck. Like, I'll have to fucking try and put some weight on before I train with you. Put some fucking muscle on. Try and keep up. You fucking.
Yeah, bro. I would have to fucking lose it all again. I'll probably be 250 pounds.
Like, if you're, you know yourself, if you're eating and like stimulating the muscle, you should stay all right. And a quick one before you go. How long was your first ever cycle? These are things people have asked me. So.
Yeah. Sorry?
How long was your first cycle?
It was 17 weeks in total. Yeah. And I'm coming off 12 weeks, and I'll go back on again. I grew pretty well I just stayed at 500 milligrams. Didn't change it at all. I was growing right to the very end. I think if I was to go back on that amount, I'd still make progressions.
Yeah. And that's the advice I'd give people is cycle on and then PCT and cycle off for a good 12 weeks. Like, people are jumping on a blast and cruise thing from the first fucking day, and it's like, are you crazy? Like, fucking, they hear say what I would do and be like, oh, I'll do that then. But it's like, you've got to realise that I've been using anabolics that long that realistically, for me to come all the way off, there's no real point, in a sense. But for yourself, who's just starting out, it's the perfect way to do it. So yeah, like, it's like, how do I don't know how to use this fucking Zoom, so I'm trying to work out. Do I just press stop record?
Yeah.
Okay, right. So it's been it's been emotional, man. It's been fucking. It's good to get an insight, you know, from like the perspective of someone just starting out on this journey to be becoming like. Do you know what's going to be awkward though? What if I'm Mr. Olympia Classic and you're trying to beat me? That's going to be awkward, isn't it?
I think that would be. It would be a nice little Jay Ronnie thing.
Imagine that, like, we do this podcast and then fucking like 3-4 years down the line, we're like, oh shit, so we're here.
You know what? Yeah, this podcast will go and blow up.
Yeah.
People will go back.
Like, them dickheads talking shit like back in the day. Fucking, I've got a clue what they're on about. But no, it's been good, mate. I've enjoyed it. And as soon as we can train, we'll train.
We're on it, man. We're on it.
Oh, you're not at strength now, still?
Yeah, I'm still at strength.
Okay, so we'll get a session down at strength as soon as we can train, yeah? Nice one.
Man.
Right, mate, catch you in a bit.
Catch you a bit, man.
In a bit.